Alright, back to the 2001 Jeep Wrangler 4-liter. Customer approved the repair. So I took a closer look with the bore scope at these exhaust valves, and cylinders 4 and 3 are definitely burnt. They look like they're recessed, but it's because the valve is smaller and it's just not seating. So we're peeling back the Jeep onion. Harness is all out of the way. See, the injectors are unplugged. I want to take off this giant intake manifold. Instructions say take the intake and exhaust manifolds off together, which, you know, it is a bit rusty, so I don't want to disconnect the exhaust manifolds from the downpipes. But I think we can get this intake manifold off separately. So I got most of the bolts out here. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 up top, and then at least 5 on the bottom. So you have to, you know, swivel sockets are your friend. And so you have a swivel socket under there to get one of the bottom bolts out. So basically each exhaust port has 2 bolts holding it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 fasteners, and this intake manifold should lift up if you undo the right ones. So I'm going to take this one out. I think it's almost ready to come out, but we do need to disconnect this fuel line. I already relieved the pressure, and it looks a little rusty in here. So let me try to disconnect that quick fitting, and then we can, you know, all the vacuum lines are disconnected, wires are disconnected. This thing should pop out of here. Fuel lines out of the way. I think that's the last piece of the puzzle for this intake manifold, hopefully. So get this last bolt out from the top. Okay. Now, let's see if it's friendly. Okay. We're getting somewhere. Now this is aluminum, not too bad, but the head, that's going to be the heavy part. That's a beautiful sight. Now we got some room. Finish taking off these exhaust manifolds, so let's do that. So will these manifolds move out of the way enough? Oh, simply perfect. That's what I was hoping for, so we don't need to remove them completely. Now we can take a peek at some of the exhaust valves. Inline 6, man, this engine's so long and skinny. Well, we've hit a roadblock in the disassembly process. Have you guys ever seen head bolts like this? So it's a 12-point socket with this huge stud sticking out of it. And then on this side, we do have, you know, regular bolts, but then 2 of them again have studs sticking out of it. Thanks to Lowe's Home Improvement, 1/2-inch 12-point deep Craftsman socket. Now we can crack these head bolts loose. So we'll start in the corners, no problem. It's nice to have the right tools, isn't it? Alright, now let's remove all of the rocker arm assemblies. So now I'm just going to take each pair and place it in a box in order. Take the push rods out. Again, put them in order. So these two were a little tight coming out. Now these head bolts apparently can be reused once. There are no paint marks on here. But I do see paint marks, like what is this? 2, 4, 3, something, 3. I have no idea. Has someone been in here before? Probably. Now the question is, can I safely lift this cast iron monstrosity out of here by myself? So it is loose. Oh, we forgot to. So sitting under the hood, I got it that far. So everything else looks pretty decent. Like I said, this is probably not the original head gasket. I have no idea. Let's flip the head over and look at those exhaust valves. Well, here she is. This is like I do cars. Let's inspect the valves. So this one is pretty much flush with the combustion surface. This one might be even a little protruding. Number 3 inset, like 1/4 of an inch. Number 4, same thing. Number 5 sticks out a little bit. Number 6 is basically flush with the cylinder head. So what gives? 3 and 4, this one had 100 psi compression, this one had 60. This valve was definitely leaking. So, like, what is going on? I don't understand. I don't see a seat. Let's just take all these exhaust valves out and compare them, see if it's just the valves. I'm hoping it's just the valves that are eaten away or damaged, but it could be. See, I don't think the seats are separate from the head. It's all cast iron. They're just machined. I don't know, but we'll find out real soon. Well, you can see number 3 and 4 exhaust valves are definitely sticking out farther than the rest of these. I've never seen this before in my life. How does that happen? They're like recessed. So let's start by taking these out, and then we'll compare it to a supposedly good one. Just insane. So, using my favorite Lisle 36050 valve spring removal tool. So you want to put some paper towel to keep the valve from depressing, and just give it a whack, see what happens. There we go. So the cap and the keepers come off. Spring and valve. So you can see the valve itself actually does not look too bad. Now this one was leaking through. But let's look at the seat on the head. You can see how it just wasn't really touching. How does that happen? So that's number 3. I don't know. Let's take out number 4. Whoops. Okay. That's good. Yeah, this one you can see where the gases were blowing by. But it's a problem with the seat, not with the valve. This is crazy stuff. So let me know in the comments if you guys have seen this phenomenon before. Cylinder 1, cylinder 2, cylinder 3, cylinder 4, cylinder 5, and 6. I don't know what to say. So I assume these seats are just cut into the cast iron of the head. They're not replaceable. It almost looks like the seat's missing on these two, doesn't it? But how are they so even? Crazy stuff. So does this thing need a new cylinder head? It sure looks like it, but you can't restore seat surface if it's missing. Wow. 2001 Jeep Wrangler is finally back in the shop for reassembly. It's been about 2 weeks since I removed the cylinder head and took it to the local machine shop here. They've done good work for me before. And looking at all the options of buying a used cylinder head versus a refurbished cylinder head versus refurbishing the existing one, the customer and my recommendation was we decided to take it to the local machine shop and have it bulletproofed. That means new hardened exhaust valve seats installed, and also the machine shop found that this head was already refurbished once and the valves themselves were oversized. It's like the guides were drilled out, so he went to town and ordered all stock valve guides, pressed those in, new valve seats, and the new OEM valves that I supplied, seals, everything. Here it is. It is a thing of beauty. Basically a brand new 4-liter Jeep cylinder head. So let's take it out of the wrapping, and I just want to see what those new seats look like. Alright, let's take a peek so you can see the exhaust ports. Those are the new seats that have been machined and pressed in. You guys can see that. It'll focus. And the intakes did not get new seats because there's nothing wrong with those. So here are all the valves that came out of the head. Measuring the valve stem, about 8.25 millimeters. And if we sneak in here with a caliper and measure the valve stem, about 8.0. So he said there were about 10 to 12 thousandths oversized. So all new seals, all new valves, exhaust valve seats. This thing should be better than factory, absolutely. So all we have to do now is reinstall it on the Jeep and take it for a test drive. I'm pretty excited about this. Alright, head gasket is in. Multi-layer steel by Felpro. Has two locating dowels there and in the back. Looks good. Now the hard part is to set the head on there. We use this foam pad to kind of set the head here and then climb in and lift it on there. Oh, here it is. Isn't it looking beautiful? So we're going to install all the head studs. This one goes into the water pump cavity, so we need to put some thread sealant on the threads there, but otherwise we'll just torque it to spec and it's just bolting stuff back together. Alright, got some thread sealant on bolt number 11. We'll screw that in right there and we'll just run them down with the and the sequence is pretty easy once you get started. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and those I'll get with the right angle, and then we'll torque the whole head down. Alright, so here's the sequence. 22, 45, check that they're at 45, 1 through 10 to 110, bolts 11 to 100, 12 to 14 to 110. Okay, so that special bolt is torqued a little less, and there's the sequence. Let's go to town. Alright, all the head bolts are torqued down to spec. I put a little dab of yellow paint on each one because according to factory service info they can only be reused once. So next person to take this apart will know to get new head bolts. So you got all of the valve train components installed, push rods and rockers, and you want to turn the engine over a few times because the lifters, when there's no preload, they extend and can fill with oil and basically keep your valves open, so you'll have no compression when you first start it. So it's a good idea to spin the engine over, and when the valve has no preload, you should be able to move this rocker freely. You'll feel a little spring tension in the lifter because the oil has bled down out of it. So for each cylinder at TDC, when both valves are closed, you should have nice play in the rocker arms. So I went through that. You see some valves are preloaded, so you won't have much movement. So I checked all those. They're all bled down. Now I'm buttoning the rest of the engine up. So obviously we'll change the hardened rubber grommets here on the valve cover. The Felpro kit does come with everything you need. See, that's not supposed to happen. It's supposed to come out of a little metal piece. These are supposed to be rubber, not plastic. Pliable. Oh yeah, see, they're pliable. They're not plastic. So we get all these old ones out and put new ones in, clean this up, and slap this on the valve cover. Alright, we're getting close. So obviously head is torqued down, valve cover's on, exhaust and intake manifolds torqued down. Before buttoning everything up, I want to change the engine oil and then just crank it with the starter relay, and for everything to prime, to pump up, make sure the compression sounds good, and then we'll finish everything up. So I got the spark plugs in there, so we should have compression in all 6 cylinders now. Let me change the engine oil out, and we'll crank it over. Well, while we're under the Jeep, just do a quick visual inspection of the front end. What I noticed when I turned the drive shaft here, that's not good. Oh man, we got rust dust everywhere. So these front drive shaft or drive axle U-joints are smoked. I don't know about the ball joints, but I'll let the owner know. They'll probably do that at their local shop, give them some business, but we'll get her running right. Alright, so we got 6 quarts of Mobil 1 high mileage 10W30. I think this vehicle does qualify as high mileage. Let's just connect the battery and jump the starter relay. Let this thing crank for, I don't know, 5-10 seconds. Alright, fire in the hole, we're all clear. Sounds pretty even. A lot better than before. Try one more time. Yeah, I'm happy with that. Let's finish the reassembly. Alright, it's the moment of truth. Cooling system, about 2 gallons of coolant in there. We'll start it up, it'll bleed the rest of the way out. Let's reconnect the battery and fire this thing up. Is it going to run smooth as butter? Well, I sincerely hope so. Alright, Mr. Jeep, let's do it. Wow, unintended acceleration there. Let me check the throttle linkage. It's closed all the way. Try that again. Where's it getting all that extra air from? Well, there's your problem, lady. The manifold is not sealed. That sucks. You have to take all this apart. But why is that? Brand new gasket. Unreal. I know I torqued all the bolts down. What the heck? Oh, an hour later, my back's gonna feel it tomorrow. But the only leak we have is at the throttle shaft. That's fine. So the manifold, there are 2 little dowels, one here and one there, and it was just slightly shifted, and the dowels are kind of keeping it away from sealing. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 bolts that you have to undo. Some of them are just holding the exhaust manifold. You don't need to worry about those. But these dual ones that hold both manifolds, you need to loosen up, wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. I had to take the belt off, the power steering off again. But problem is fixed. So add that to the, it's an experience. 4-liter life, right? So let me button everything back up, and it should run. Hopefully it'll run smoothly. Alright, let's try this again. There we go. Much better. have a little knock, but super smooth. No misfires. Take it for a rip. Alright, let's take this Jeep for a little test drive. I was checking the high and low beams. What the heck? They're switching opposite. That's high beam. So the left headlight seems to be doing what it should. The right one is the opposite. Oh my gosh. Well, I'll take it for a ride anyways. Alrighty, next morning, let's take this Jeep Wrangler for a final test drive. I took it for a spin last night. The drive's great, but the knocking is a little concerning. So, a couple details here. Replaced a little T in the washer, re-enabled that. You can see this is why the right headlight was all wonky. Going the left and the high beam, or the low and the high beams were crossed, so I repinned that. Radiator cap does not hold pressure, but if it's happy, it's happy. If you replace a broken radiator cap and now you have pressure in the system, and let's say something is barely holding on, like the heater cores, and then starts leaking, guess who's responsible? So I'm not going to touch that. I'll just tell the owner, hey, your radiator cap's broken, but we don't want to disturb the equilibrium. So let's take it for a spin, make sure it runs perfect, doesn't say any codes, and we'll wrap this thing up. Alright, here we go. Cold start. Belt's a little squeaky. Yeah, that knock is there. So I mentioned that to the customer. I'm like, did you notice that your engine was knocking before you brought it over? And she said, yeah, it's been knocking for a while, like a couple years. So I'm like, well, nothing you can do really, just keep driving it. Hopefully it holds up for a while. Alright, let's do a little acceleration run here. It's happy. Okay, it's a little hard to keep on the road, bouncy, like a short wheelbase Jeep is, but I think it will keep going for a while longer. The knocking sound is, to me, would be concerning, but if it's been doing it for a couple of years, then it is what it is. So when you're getting into these older vehicles with a pile of miles, there's always more than one thing wrong. So the running issue was due to low compression, recessed exhaust valve seats. Never seen that before, but the machine shop did an amazing job restoring that cylinder head. So even if the bottom end gives out, you can put this refurbished cylinder head on any 4-liter Jeep engine and it'll be a good engine. So that's it. Appreciate everyone watching, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.